We are surrounded by unpredictable and easily excitable predators.
This perspective is often sorely lacking in these supposed discussions. In the dog world, they don't just refer to aggression as what it is, aggression. I personally call it dog-originated aggression, because it's aggression coming from a dog. And no, this is not something a dog learns from a person. It is innate. If you leave a dog to its own devices or observe a feral pack, you will quickly see that human influence is not needed. Dogs will naturally use violence in their daily lives. But here's what I mean. Dog nutters will use the term aggression, but they will hyphenate it like this. They will say that a dog has fear aggression, resource aggression, or they will say some bullshit about barrier aggression when a dog is just being aggressive when it's behind a gate or fence, for instance. They will claim that one of these beasts is dog aggressive or human aggressive, when again, it is simply aggressive, full stop. They will talk about leash aggression or confinement aggression, and on and on. It truly is ridiculous. It's a lot of excuse-making, and it's incredibly strange. A lot of it is based on unfounded assumptions, like the notion that fear, of all things, causes dogs to respond aggressively to things. And of course, these dogs aren't responding, so much as they are initiating aggression or conflict. But a fear response is not the same as that of an animal that is being violent, and which is actually initiating an attack or behaving like a predator. Dog owners wish to deny that their pet of choice is a most aggressive one, and it clearly is. People with menacing dogs that display unprovoked hostility towards passerby, for instance, will often say that their dogs are being protective. That is another euphemism, like reactive, and we will touch on that as well. But they aren't in their dog's head, and thus have no actual idea what the bestial predator's true motivation is. For instance, why would they assume the dog is being hostile as hell because of a desire to protect someone? Of course. Even if we say that the dogs are behaving this way because of a perceived threat from the outside world, then dogs are clearly terrible at distinguishing a legitimate threat from a non-threatening, ordinary societal interaction. Take, for instance, the following common scenario. Suppose a person is simply walking by, perhaps too close for their own good or for the damn dog's liking, but intending no harm to the owner or the dog itself. And for no reason at all, the dog will growl, bark angrily, lunge, charge forward, pull on the lead to get closer to its intended victim. Dogs will lash out at random and with great vitriol. If given the chance, they will actually bite or maul someone to death. Such people, simply minding their own business out in the world, are often the victims of dog-originated aggression. Another example would be the simple fact that dogs cannot tell the difference between, say, a letter carrier or delivery person dropping off a package as opposed to an actual threat. This is evidenced by the fact that everybody knows dogs chase and generally harass letter carriers. It's often joked about, although it really isn't funny. There's a specific brand of pepper spray called Halt in the United States, made with deterring dog attacks in mind, and it declares the length of time it's been used by the U.S. Postal Service on the package as a selling point. If dogs are not aggressive towards letter carriers and other delivery workers, then I've got some real estate on Jupiter to sell someone. Now, why would the U.S. Postal Service use such a product for so long? I seriously don't want to hear about why these nutters believe dogs are actually justified in being so hostile towards letter carriers, or anyone. After all, the very presence of many dogs is a very real and serious threat to life and limb. Not to mention, there is no excuse for that bullshit and no justification whatsoever. Dogs are stupid, deformed canines that some people choose to own. They are not people, and their primitive whims have no validity. The overused and euphemistic reactive is just a word used to normalize and defend dogs that are, frankly, neurotic, aggressive, or just plain awful. It's pretty sinister, because it implies that the dog is reacting to something external to itself, as if another animal or person who is the target of the dog's aggression were somehow the source of the aggression, or somehow asking for it, when in reality, this is never the case. Originally, the word reactive was more useful and less dishonest than the manner in which it is used today. It used to mean a dog that just reacted in X way because of Y thing. For example, a dog getting overexcited during a car ride. Now it is synonymous with aggression, though not in the minds of the people who use the term today, as they refer to aggression as so-called reactivity. Calling a dog reactive today and convincing society that this is a thing puts the responsibility on the victim of a dog attack. If the dog bites because it is so-called reactive, rather than the reality of it being the aggressive mutant it is, then when a person is bitten, they must have done something to make the dog react, even if they didn't actually do anything but be present around the dog. It's a convenient way for dog owners to avoid consequences and to project dogs as harmless no matter how they actually behave.
This is the face of the brutish entity which so many people are inexplicably drawn to. They are as overly sentimental and incomprehensibly servile towards these vicious beasts as they are willing to express antipathy and animosity towards members of their own species. All during a most troubling time in history, where compassion for humanity itself is at an all-time low.
Now, here's a question that's fairly easy to answer, and which I have answered before, here and elsewhere.
Why do dog nutters blame any unprovoked attack by a dog on its upbringing?
Because if we rightly identified domestic dogs as the direct cause of the things they do to us, it would seriously call into question the ethical sustainability of continuing to allow people to own them. If they could only acknowledge that dogs are simply inherently violent and so forth, they would have to admit that dogs themselves are clearly capable of doing terrible things, which should be very obvious. Remember, dogs are dangerous with and without owners. Ergo, any attempt for some nutter to shift the discussion away from one about how dangerous dogs are onto an entirely different conversation about dog ownership is a distraction from the real issue. I personally avoid dogs and even wish they weren't a thing anymore, and this is because of how they behave and because of the things they themselves do. I'm talking about the dogs themselves here, nothing to do with their owners. The owners are largely just guilty of having them. Not to say that's their only violation, but dogs act independently of their owners. And what dogs themselves do warrants every ounce of condemnation they get from those who've been inconvenienced or attacked by dogs on multiple occasions. This point is super important, so I really do have to reiterate it. There's no good reason to own a dog at all in this day and age, especially if you are living in the city. This obscene, extreme, and most unseemly culture continues to proliferate, but it is impossible to justify, and the costs are simply way too high. Again, just from a public health and safety standpoint, dogs are awful. And ultimately, the core issue is, as always, the presence of dogs itself. When will we live in a world where the truth is finally accepted on a large enough scale that dogs can just not be a thing anymore?
Damn. Got to do some. See. Oh yeah. It ain't over, motherfuckers.
Or is it?
They tell us that dog haters are bad. They say we have no empathy. They call us dangerous. Okay, you get the point. Dog worshippers love to lie and say we're so terrible. But this is a classic case of every accusation is a confession, and you'll never guess what I found earlier today. Technically yesterday, when I was editing this video, and I didn't find it myself, but I was made aware of its existence. It's a particularly cancerous, human-hating, God-forsaken corner of YouTube. You won't believe some of these posts.
People should learn that humans are killing everything. I don't understand why people constantly defend mankind. All I hear is people saying that humans deserve to live and are more superior, when in reality they aren't and don't. You've stood up for the haughty of mankind as far as I've witnessed you speak.
Okay, that part at the end, that was just terrible English. As far as I've witnessed you speak? Seriously, who the hell talks like this? And then, there's this gem here.
I know you hate me, but for once, I couldn't agree more. Humans are truly the most disgusting and heartless creatures out there, and I hate that they're seen as superior just because they can speak and build things. Animals do the exact same thing in their own ways. Humans just don't acknowledge that because it doesn't benefit them. I hate that murder is only considered bad if it's a human. A life is a life. In the end, without all of the clothes and buildings and money, we are all equal.
I was originally going to do something a bit more involved on this channel, but ultimately I decided it's not worth spending a whole lot of time on.
Hope you've enjoyed this one. It'll certainly teach you how to use the tools, and I think you'll find it very, very rewarding.
So long from
K non-official.
And God bless, my friend.
I stepped in it again on my morning walk. Your ghastly leash, gremlin leaves nastiness for blocks. Say it's just excited when it tries to bite, but it seems that beast simply likes to spite. All dogs suck, I've had enough of the barking, the biting. Yes, I'm mad at mutts. You got chewed up shoes, it's got toxic breath, tail-wagging agents of chaos and death. Yeah, all dogs suck, no matter how small. They scratch up your floor, bark at your neighbor and every passerby, not doing you no favors. They hump your leg in front of guests, then eat a sock and require a vet. Dumb. All dogs suck, I've had enough of the barking, the biting. Yes, I'm mad at mutts. It's got a rude attitude, the thing's food obsessed. These tail-wagging agents of chaos and death. Yeah, all dogs suck. You don't even need it. They bark at the air, howl at the breeze. They hound and harass, give us allergies. They eat your food and pollute your heads, yet you let them inside of your beds. Sick. All dogs suck. I've had enough of the barking, the biting. Yes, I'm mad as fuck. I'd hate to be another. I'd rather be a mess than all one of these agents of chaos and death. Yeah, all dogs suck. Yeah, said it, what now? It's basically a smelly roommate who can't pay rent from June through May. It's noise, mess, and codependence, annoyance, stress, and what you owe is endless. Why would you want this? You're basically the thing's servant, converting your cash to dog shit, eating dog hair and everything you serve up.